Hi, I'm Robin from Circles and Stone, and welcome to my stamping series. And today I'm going to show you
a demonstration of the HTX Fretz Texture Tip Inserts using the Fretz HMR-7 Hammer.
So grab your supplies and let's do this.
Hi, I have my Fretz HMR-7 Double Ended Hammer. As you can see, there's a hole on each side and a set screw. And this comes with plastic tips, and it's for non-marring applications. I did a little cell phone video, just do an unboxing when I got this hammer. So basically, I bought the texture headset, and this video is going to be all about texture. And this texture headset, it's 8 different heads, and they're all by Fretz. And I'm going to use these kind of blanks they're my scrap blanks. These were blanks I got off of Amazon that I put in the tumbler, but it had apparently some kind of coating, so they turned out really gross. So I'm actually I use these for playing. So I'm gonna go ahead and I left one end without anything in the end. I'm going to make sure I don't want to lose the set screw, so I'm just going to screw it in a little bit here. But the other side, I'm going to go ahead and, as you can see, just use the wrench that comes with the hammer. And I'm going to put in the first one. Now, these aren't really, they're kind of almost imperfect looking. They, and this one is actually 2. Where's number 1? Number 1's here. As you can see, I mean, they're not machined perfectly, so there might be some imperfections, but it's for texturing. So you can't be too critical, I believe, with this. So, although they are very pricey. This is the beach Pebbles. Now, I'm going to go ahead and slide it in the end. I'm going to hold it with my finger so it is flush. And I'm going to go ahead and take the wrench, and I'm going to tighten the set screw. Okay, and I'm going to make sure it's very tight. I'm not going to go crazy and over torque it, but you do want it to not have any play, because it will come out as you're hammering down. So it looks pretty flush. It doesn't seem to move around too much. So I'm going to go ahead and put my blank on. Now this became my texturing block, because when I used some of the other hammers, which I'll do in the video as well, if you overshoot a little bit, you might end up with some texture on your block. So I have this one reserved, or at least keep one side reserved for texturing, and then that preserves the other side. So I'm going to lay my blank on here. I'm going to hold it with my fingertip, maybe 2 to start, and then maybe you can just keep backing it off. Just start moving around with it. And you want to apply some pretty good force to get a good effect. Just kind of move around with it. And I'm some people don't, because they said it fatigues the finger, but for me, it helps me to aim and get directional, like totally straight up and down force here. And it's a lightweight enough of a hammer that it shouldn't fatigue you too much doing it that way. And I'm just I'm very methodically lifting up and pushing down, lifting up and pushing down. I'm not bouncing it. I'm not like using gravity. I'm actually using motion. Very directed motion. Okay? I'm not swinging. I'm lifting and pushing down. So this is the beach pebble. And I found If I use a pro polish pad on it, you can see the texture better. So let me go ahead and polish that up. And there you can see some of the texture. So moving on, I'm gonna not leave this one in and put another one in, because I don't want this to jostle around and end up having it fly off in your, these have some weight to them. You don't want that coming off and hitting you in any way. Number 2, the HTX 2, is for linen. It's called linen. I'm going to go ahead and tighten that down. I'm going to come over here and give it a little more final tighten. And it doesn't really move, so that's good. I'm going to take the beach pebble, and I'm just going to flip it over to the other side so I don't waste too many blanks. And then I'm going to do the same thing with this one. And then I gently kind of spin it around. Of course, you would have a scratch protector beneath here, or you could lay tape down. So when you're spinning your blank, if you don't want to scratch that other side up or scuff it up, you can do that. I'm just giving it directed motion. I'm going off to the side a little bit, overshooting the side. Okay. So that will give me a linen effect. I actually want to give it a little more. And you want to overlap that texture. So I'm going to take my Pro Polish pad so you can really appreciate the texture. Yeah, now you can see the texture. Okay, so that's the linen. And then this was the beach pebble, which flattened out a bit from, that's what happens when whatever stamping you have on one side, if you flip it over and you start applying pressure on the other side, you'll lose your stamping on the other side. Not completely. There'll be a ghosted image though. So we'll go on to number 3. And number 3 is rough slate. Okay. I don't take it completely out because I don't want to lose it. Just enough that it comes out and goes back in. So rough slate actually kind of looks like wood grain. And I'm going to give that a tighten and then another tighten. Okay. Now it's not going anywhere. Okay, got another blank here. And again, I'm just going to hold it with my 2 fingers at the very tips. Be careful not to hit your fingers. And it kind of start up here and then kind of move around and then rotate the disc. And like I said, you would have a protector on the back if you don't want to scratch that other side. Now this one has a linear, see? So you kind of want to keep that pattern going the same direction. If you start spinning this one around, it might look kind of funny. So what I'm going to do is to keep it going in the same direction, I'm going to hold it. Now that's how I'm going to bypass my fingers. Just keep going with it this way. You can do the overlap. But this one I'm not spinning because there's a direction to this, like a grain. Okay? So I went ahead and did this one. This one's called rough slate, and it actually did turn out looking a bit like slate. So let me use the Pro Polish pad, kind of clean it up a little bit. Okay. Yeah. Okay, I don't know if you can really see some of these textures here. No. This particular camera is not the best for up close. Okay. So that is the rough slate, and now is Walnut Bark number 4, the HTX 4. This is Walnut Bark. So what these are really good for is, you know, if you want to do textured cuffs, you know, maybe not a lot of other stamping, but you just a real nice texture. Or you want to do a textured background and then maybe rivet a design blank on top with your stamping. This is the Walnut Bark. Okay, and this one, again, it's got kind of a directional pattern, so we're going to keep this going in one direction. The other ones you could spin. You'll know when you see it. You'll get a feel for what ones you spin and what ones, and who knows, maybe you'll like the way it looks if it's not going all in one direction too. So I'm going to go ahead and start moving this direction and this direction. However, you know, if you wanted it to look exactly, you could even rotate it within the hammer if it makes you more comfortable, that you want to stamp in like I'm doing in this fashion, but you want it to go, say if you want this to go up and down to where the dot is, or where I should say where the hole is, what you could do if you're comfortable stamping it this way, like I am going this direction rather than towards me, I get more force going this way. You can orient this to go, you know, the other, like this way. In fact, we can do that as an example, just to show you. I'm going to take this, I'm going to rotate the head so that the grain goes this way, and then I'm going to tighten it down. Okay, now I'm going to go this way. I'm just going to move left, or here, I'm going to move to the right, to the left, kind of go back and forth. See how I'm doing that? Just keep moving your finger back out of a danger zone of where you need to get to. Okay, so this is the Walnut Bark. And there's some space here that didn't get any texture. I'm going to set it back down. I'm going to try to keep going in that same direction that the grain is. So and I'm just going to hit a little harder to get into those spaces. Okay, now I'm going to clean this up. And this is the Walnut Bark. It actually does look like bark. Okay. Very good. So now the next one is Stucco. That was the HTX 5. There's 8 of these. Okay. So this one, this one you could go all different directions because there's no grain to it. So you don't even need to be careful. I'm not even going to plan out how I want it in the hammer with regard to how I plan on hammering it. Okay. So no play. Give it a wiggle. All right, so this guy is stucco. And it's starting to come loose. I can see. So as soon as I sensed that it was coming loose, I stopped. I'm going to actually come back in and tighten that. Okay. Yeah, you have to anticipate that there's a chance these come loose. It's not a perfect science. They have not perfected it. So, in fact, that was my hesitation in the beginning of buying it. But then I thought, no, why not? Let's give it a chance. Okay, so this is stucco. So stucco is going to look something like this. There we go. Now you can see it. Okay. I'm going to flip that over. I'm going to remember that stucco is a little dodgy as far as I got to keep an eye on that one. And I'll have to try to understand maybe why. So 6 is rainwater. So this one is rainwater. Looks like that. So again, this goes in a particular direction. So I'm gonna, because the way I texture, I notice I go left to right typically. I'm going to actually make it so then it would be that I'm hammering left to right. Okay. So it's not going in all, so I gotta loosen that so it's nice and flush, and then I'm gonna give it a nice tighten it down. In fact, after the last episode, I'm gonna even give it a little more, but without over to where you do any damage. Okay. And then I'm just gonna start, I want to actually have it go up and down. So I did this side, and because I'm going in a directional pattern, I'm going to flip it so that I'm going now on this side. I'm going to test this just out of curiosity. It's not too bad. So that's something else you could do. You could just, as you're doing it too, you could just lift it and give it a wiggle. If it's starting to get loose, just tighten it before it gets too loose. Again, that was my hesitation buying this in the first place. But I was worried about obsolescence and then not ever being able to get it because it's kind of faddish. So I went ahead and got it anyway. So the rainwater, oh, it looks like this. And I found if I kind of give it a little, let's see, where was that one? Angle. Okay. There you go. It's rainwater. So we're left with 2 more. And the next one is maple bark. How different it is than walnut bark, we shall see. To me, it looks like a thumbprint. But so I don't know how I want to orient this one, to be honest, because I can't envision how this is even going to turn out. Try to make sure it's nice and tight. Okay, see what I mean? It kind of looks like a thumbprint. But this one, again, I don't want to crisscross. I mean, some people might like that. You might discover you want a texture where you do this direction and then the other direction and you get a crisscross. I'm going to keep it all one direction like a grain. I actually really like this one. This is really panning out. I don't want to lose my angle, so I'm actually going to do it different this time. I'm going to do something like this. And then just be careful, and then try to find ways to keep it in one place. You could tape it, and keep, because this is very grainy, or just keep trying to find clever ways to put your finger so you don't hit it. It didn't come loose at all. This is very nice. I like this one. This one's my favorite so far. It's called Maple Bark. Clean it up so you can really see, because like I said, these are kind of bad blanks. Oh, I like this. I don't know how well you can see that. That's very nice. Okay. Maple Bark. Favorite. The final one is called Waffle. And it looks like this. And this is actually common. I've seen this on a lot of jewelry. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this guy. My favorite. Probably just stay tuned. All my jewelry is going to look like this. It's all going to be Maple Bark. Okay, I'm going to put the waffle in, the final texture insert. Now I want to make sure this is nice and tight. There we go. Okay. And this crisscrosses, so I don't think it's going to matter too much. Kind of move it around a little bit. Okay, I see. It's going to lay down felt like it was getting loose, but it's not. What I'm going to do is try to keep it in the same. I'm not spinning it and going around in a circle. I just kind of flipped it, so now I'm approaching it from the other side and trying to keep, because what's doing, laying down little squares, so you want to try to keep all the little squares together. So this one is very common in jewelry. So I'll go and clean it up. And then, because the video is getting kind of long, the other methods of texturing I'll do in other parts, in other videos. So I will go over using some of the other hammers to show you how to texture. So this is just for the Fretz series then. Okay, so this is the waffle. Okay, so that's it. That's the Fretz. It used the double-ended hammer of the HMR-7, and it comes with 9 plastic tips for non-marring applications, which is why I bought it in the first place. Then I learned about these tips, and I hesitated at first because I understand that if you're applying motion like this and you got a set screw, it's going to loosen. I mean, it's just the nature of the beast. But as long as you make sure it's nice and tight in the beginning, and if you sense that it's somehow kind of maybe loosening up a little bit, stop, check, give it a wiggle. If it has a little play, tighten it back down. And remember, think twice about putting another one on the other end, because if you're banging like this, the other one comes loose, you could get hurt. So it's best just kind of maybe leave the other end not in use, or leave a plastic tip in the other end. But that's it. So thank you for joining me while I experimented with my 8 Fretz tips. And it came with beach pebbles, linen, rough slate, walnut bark, stucco, rainwater. My favorite's the maple bark and the waffle. So take care, and I will see you in the next texturing video. Bye.